satellite and be able to steer them. That could be quite disastrous. You could have hackers that can change the orbits of satellites, crashing them into each other, and even worse, into crewed spacecraft like the International Space Station.
No kidding. Can you tell me why satellites would be vulnerable to cyber break-ins like these?
Well, it has a lot to do, in many cases, manufacturing processes of satellites. So makers of satellites, especially the small economical CubeSats, in many cases they use off-the-shelf technology to keep the cost low. Also, open source technology, the components, there's so many of them that make up the satellite. In many cases, they're just open source. They're available to anyone around the world. And so the danger here is that hackers could insert their kind of like little back doors in the software inside the satellites if they could get hold of this. There's multiple companies involved in building the various components of satellites. It's not just one company, multiple. So there's a whole range of opportunities for hackers to get involved and insert themselves from the actual building of the spacecraft all the way to the launch and beyond.
And you say beyond, could they actually break into a satellite that's already in space?
It can happen. I mean, just think of little CubeSat making a pass overhead of a hacker in the sky above him or her, and then they send malicious commands using specialized ground antenna. I mean, hackers can even access sophisticated satellites too. It's not much harder. I mean, typically satellites are controlled from ground stations. So these stations, of course, are run by computers, which are outfitted with softwares, and those softwares have inherent vulnerabilities. I mean, our operating systems on our computers have to be updated regularly so that hackers can't exploit them. And the same goes for satellite software as well. If they infiltrate these computers, they can send malicious commands to satellites.
And how realistic is this, though?
It's interesting because, Sarah, if you look there, historically it has happened. I mean, in 1998, hackers took control of an astronomy satellite where they hacked into NASA computers at the Goddard Space Center in Maryland and instructed the satellite to aim its solar panels directly at the sun. So in effect, effectively, they basically just fried the batteries, and they rendered the satellite dead in space. And that was like hundreds of millions of dollars, poof, gone. And then there was an incident in 1999 when a British telecommunications satellite was held for ransom until they paid up. That hackers held control of that system. In 2008, Chinese hackers reportedly took full control of 2 NASA satellites. One of them for up to 9 minutes, NASA could not control it.
So what can be done to make satellites less vulnerable then to these kind of attacks?
Well, what stakeholders are saying is they would like to see governments really step up their efforts to address space cybersecurity. They're making progress, but it's very slow. And the consensus is that there should be a worldwide governing body that would regulate and ensure cybersecurity standards, and a way to enforce them. Right now, we just don't have that. And so advocates are ringing the alarm bell that something needs to be done. There should be some regulation. And some of the leaders in the field are saying that, unfortunately, right now, it's amazing to think that these satellite cybersecurity efforts are really only in the hands of the companies that are making the satellites and operating.
And we're seeing more and more satellites being launched into orbit. Do you think this could affect future scientific research?
Well, that's the fear of many astronomers, actually, who use these multi-million-dollar scientific observatories that we've built around the world on great mountaintops that look at clear skies. They place them very carefully in specific spots that have really beautiful skies. And now the fear is that with these small, inexpensive satellites that companies can put up in huge batches, and like SpaceX is one of the leaders in this field, and they have a project called Starlink where they've put up already 300 satellites. Just this week they launched 60. internet satellites that they hope to increase their numbers to over 40,000 eventually. They've got the green light for 12,000. They've asked regulators for a further 30,000. And their hope to bring, all of this is to bring low-cost internet service to people around the world, which is great. It democratizes the internet. However, what effect will this have on our views of the cosmos here on Earth? Well, we have all these satellites buzzing around our planet. And so astronomers are really raising the alarm bell of, hey, okay, we're doing something great for people and humanity at large, but what is going to happen to science? We should just make sure that we take that into effect. So positive thing is that SpaceX is talking with astronomers, with researchers, trying to see what ways they could mitigate it. But there's no international agreement, Sarah, on any guidelines of these man-made objects. And, businesses right now can basically do whatever they want and put up as many satellites as they want.
Well, lots to keep an eye out for. Thanks so much for telling us about this.
My pleasure. Clear sky.
That's Andrew Kazakis, the astronomy columnist for the National Geographic and a frequent contributor to CBC Radio. Well, we got our winner to the BC Trivia Quiz. Finally, we got quite a few right answers. So I'm just going to tell you what the right answer is, and we will explain our clues as we go. So the correct answer was Kelly Scott, one of the best curlers to come out of BC, from Kelowna, originally from Manitoba, I might add. But Kelly Scott was our right answer. Congratulations to Diane Bridge at 100 Mile House. We'll give you a shout and get your address so we can mail you off your mug. So let's go through the clues. The first clue was combining a kilt and a kimono made for a one-of-a-kind look. Kelly Scott was the first female skip to win a gold medal at both the World Junior Championship, which she did in 1995 in Scotland, and a World Championship, which she did in 2007 in Japan. So the first female skip to win gold medals at the World Juniors and the World Championships in Scotland and Japan. So the kimono and the kilt. Kermode Bear beat out the bison. Kelly Scott began her career playing out of Manitoba, where the provincial mammal is the bison. In BC, the provincial mammal is the Kermode Bear. And you'd think this would be a double the softness when this person was around, but it was nothing but hard rocks. Double the softness, Kelly Scott played in the Scotties. She played in 8 national Scotty tournaments and won 2. That's it for us. Thanks so much for spending time with us on the show. And The World at 6 is next.
Tomorrow on Q. Not too long ago, Daniel Caesar was sleeping on park benches in Toronto. Now he headlines shows all over the world, and Barack Obama is a fan of this music. So you're going to hear about the joyful moments and the controversial moments of finding yourself in a Southern spotlight. Q with Tom Power, tomorrow morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app. World at 6 is next. Then in half an hour, it's As It Happens.
Hi, I'm Chris Howden. The Wet'suwet'en protests and the RCMP's response continue to create division and debate right across the country. We'll talk to a member of the First Nation that's challenging police tactics, and to Canada's Minister of Transport, Mark Garneau.
There are some easy, expedient ways to resolve conflict. The problem is most of the time they're not the right way. So I urge Canadians, I know the pain they're going through, but we ask for a little more patience, because there is a real opportunity here to show the world that we can resolve these issues in a peaceful way.
That's Mark Miller, Minister of Indigenous Services, appealing for something that may not yet be in short supply. But for the second day in a row, this happened at a rail blockade.
I want you guys to be safe. I want my city here to be safe.
I think we're...
I want... You're blocking billions of dollars of our economy.
The location, Montreal's South Shore, where CN tracks are stuck. And while that confrontation ended in a handshake, Quebec's premier has indicated the Quebec blockade may end with police intervention. So it's tense, and the wider political pressure is growing.
So once again, can the Prime Minister tell this House on what day these illegal blockades will come down?
The government can commit today in this House that the Prime Minister will meet with the chiefs, the hereditary chiefs of Wet'suwet'en.
I'm Susan Bonner. Welcome to The World at 6. We'll have the day's other major news stories, the prison sentence for a Donald Trump ally, and the aftermath of a terrible attack in Germany. But on this day, when the RCMP indicated it's willing to pull back from an outpost at the heart of the current unrest, and with Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs heading east to Mohawk territory, we will look at what it all means at the blockades on Wet'suwet'en land and on Parliament Hill. That's where we'll begin tonight with the CBC's Tom Perry.